Now, Western Cape MEC for Education, David Maynier, says his department has no other option but to cut 2,400 teacher posts. The MEC was speaking during a debate at the provincial legislature on Thursday. Let's discuss this further now with Khalid Said, who is the leader of the opposition in the Western Cape, the ANC. Khalid, thank you so much for joining us this evening. The MEC in your province saying that, look, we have no choice, we have to cut these teacher posts. What do you have to say?
Thank you very much, and my greetings to the viewers. So the MEC said this in the debate and we responded. It is patently untrue and it is disingenuous what the MEC is saying. While we do agree with the fact that National Treasury does need to come to the party, generally when it comes to the budget for education, we do understand the national context that we are in. I want to put that rider there, but it is disingenuous. This province does have money to fund the over 2,400 teaching posts. There's a school evaluation authority, which the teachers' union sought to oppose because it's anti-teacher. It also duplicates the kind of work that circuit managers and districts have to do by monitoring schools. That program can be scrapped. There's the Back on Track program, which was adopted during COVID-19. The program is proving now to be ineffective. That resources can be utilized. The department that this MEC oversees, that is the political head of, sends back every year infrastructure resources back to Treasury. Instead of wasting, instead of not planning correctly, use the budget correctly, plan correctly. That resources can be utilized to fund these particular posts. They had an opportunity, even before these budget cuts came into place. They had an opportunity, and this is the point that Satu is raising. They had the opportunity to convert the contract posts to permanent posts. They refused, and now we are sitting in this mess. So the MEC does have the Provincial Minister of Education does have an opportunity to change the situation, and it must be changed, and we will exercise our oversight in every possible sense to ensure that this situation does change. The 2,407 educators must not be fired, and they will not be fired under our watch.
And you mentioned National Treasury as well, and I wanted to come there too, because that is something that the MEC had mentioned too as part of the reasoning, saying this is the last resort, and talking about the shortfall of the money, the budget, the national funding to the province as well, saying there's been a shortfall of 1.1 billion rand. But in addition to that, what that means is that 64% of the cost of the wage agreement that was agreed in 2023, that means that the Provincial Department of Education would then not be able to make those payments.
So it is also disingenuous for the MEC and the provincial government to use the issue of wage agreements as a barrier between them being able to hold on to these posts for educators. The wage agreement and what was agreed to at the national level is just, and it is correct. They should have planned for this particular situation. In fact, they're also disingenuous. The wage agreement for the 2025-2026 year is still underway. There's no agreement as yet. Those discussions are still taking place. Just before the elections, Premier Windy admitted that they've taken money away from the health and education budget to finance a non-existent safety plan. A field that is not even a constitutional competency of provincial government. They go and throw money there to the city of Cape Town. Those resources could have been used for this. So I think they are trying to create a crisis so that yet again, the Democratic Alliance can bolster their agenda of wanting to devolve powers away from national government and more to this particular province, which is completely wrong. We need to work in a manner that is building and that is enhancing the relationship with different spheres of government so that the citizens are better saved. And we must try to save these jobs of teachers under all circumstances, because education is an apex priority. Without education, there is no economic growth that they always talk about, and that is indeed important.
And I think anyone watching would agree that education is an apex priority too, but also so is safety. If the government in the provincial government there in the Western Cape is saying, look, we are going to pump more money into safety projects over the next 2 to 3, 5 years, that's also something that needs to be prioritized. How do we then pick between the two?
Let me respond to that matter. The Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, for a particular reason, mandates provinces to take responsibility, and the biggest budget is given to health and education. And provinces are mandated constitutionally to ensure that you have quality education and that we've got quality healthcare. Without quality healthcare, without quality education and accessibility, and where you're going to have shortages of teachers, it's going to lead to crime. That's how they're supposed to tackle crime. Policing is not a provincial competency. And you've got now a memorandum of understanding, an agreement now between the city, province, and national government to work together. Provincial government is supposed to create conditions. That's why even the Department of Community Safety that they have, they're supposed to assist communities to work with SAPs. They're supposed to develop social programs. They're supposed to ensure that the apartheid spatial planning in our communities is done away with. They're supposed to put resources into education. They must ensure that our classrooms are not overcrowded so that learners do not drop out and go into a life of crime and gangsterism. That's how they are supposed to be tackling crime. SAPs, on the other hand, have the responsibility of policing. So it cannot be that we are saying if they take away money from crime or from a non-existent safety program, and we've not seen the results of that program in any case, it cannot be that we are then told that we are saying, no, that it's not important to keep citizens safe. A provincial government's responsibility to keep citizens safe lies in the fact that it must create the conditions that hinders or that prevents people from going into criminality. That's what they've got to do. And that's what they're not doing by cutting these teacher posts.
When we look at crime stats as well, year on year again, we also see that the Western Cape also tops the charts when it comes to that too. And again, we've also heard the point that you've mentioned too, that the Democratic Alliance has also been quite vocal about wanting to have these policing powers in the province to themselves and not from a national point of view. For those people who are residents in the province who are also fearful about the crime stats going up there too, and looking at the provincial government, what do you say the provincial government says to them, that they do take on this approach of fixing the other components that will then ultimately lead to possibly a safer province? But also then what happens in the meantime when residents are living in fear because of the crime?
Thank you very much. Firstly, as I've indicated, and as you've said already, the crime stats are extremely high. At one stage, Nyanga in Cape Town was the murder capital globally. Now, the money that they've shifted quite clearly has not made a difference in terms of tackling crime because it's not within the constitutional competency. Where they put that money, the money has gone into LEAP officers. LEAP officers do not have the constitution and legal powers to even make arrests, even though the Premier at one stage wanted Vladimir Putin to be arrested by the LEAP officers. LEAP officers do not have that. So we need to tell our citizens that, listen, provincial government needs to play its role in creating the conditions to deal with crime. Yes. And also now, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There was a memorandum of understanding, and we do commend, we're not going to be all negative. We do commend the Premier and provincial government for coming on board and signing the memorandum of understanding with national government, with the city of Cape Town, to tackle crime, to basically tackle crime collectively, to work together. So that SAPS has the policing powers, SAPS makes the arrests, SAPS investigates, but the city and the province assist. That still allows you to ensure that the budget of health and especially the budget of education is not touched. You can do that within the budget of community safety. You can do that by ensuring that you spend your budget on education properly, that young people are not going to be vulnerable, young people are not going to go into the streets and be frustrated, that you spend your human settlement budget correctly by building proper houses and by ensuring that we eradicate squatter camps and informal settlements. So People need to understand that tackling crime, yes, boots on the ground are very, very important, but all spheres of government need to play their role.
Going back to the national sphere of government, something else that the Premier, Alan Winde, had said was that attributing that shortfall of the budget to the ANC's mismanagement of the national budget. What do you say about that?
Look, I'm the leader of the opposition in the Western Cape provincial legislature, and my role is to lead the oversight of provincial government. The Premier's role, as has been elected by provincial legislature, Democratic Alliance got the majority of the vote. He's the Premier. He's got to take responsibility for what is done here and for what is not done here. It's again a blame shifting. Citizens are sick and tired of listening to blame shifting. I'll be the first one to admit about the shortcomings at the national government level. But you cannot blame national government shortcomings and so-called mismanagement of funds for you not being able to spend your funds correctly. For education budget, money for the education budget, which is ever increasing. Yes, national increases this particular budget in various streams. You cannot blame what's happening at the national level for you returning money to national treasury and not spending your budget. Let's stop focusing on what's happening in other provinces, what national government is doing and what they are not doing. National must do what it must do, and the media must also hold it accountable, and public reps serving in parliament must do the same. But when you are given a mandate and elected by citizens to govern, you must govern and stop looking for excuses.
What I want us to touch on before I let you go as well is just the consequences of this. When these 2,400 odd teachers will be sacked, and what that means for the education system in that province too. In some schools, we know that up to 60 learners are in one classroom. Now, if we have less teachers as well, what does that picture then look like?
It's going to be a very, very bleak picture if it does indeed happen. As I indicated to you, you're going to have overcrowded classrooms. You're going to have learners dropping out. Already we've got such a high dropout rate between grade 3 and grade 9. The dropout rate will increase. You are going to also be having now already, as you are having, even before these job cuts have started, where educators' morale is already low. You've got educators resigning. You've got a low morale. It's going to affect the classroom. It's going to have deeper social impact. But very importantly, it's going to affect growth very negatively, because education, graduation from school to the next level of studies is central to keeping the economy going. So it's going to have an entire ripple effect. That is why we are saying, let us not see this as inevitable. Let's work together. Let's ensure that it does not happen. And this is why, as the ANC in the province, we are fully behind SADTU. SADTU have declared a dispute. The dispute is being heard on the 3rd of October. We are fully behind SADTU with regards to that dispute. But we're also calling upon the MEC not to paint a picture of doom and gloom, to make every effort in the province to ensure that we have the money to employ these educators, not to have these jobs to be dropped. It's in the best interest of the future of generations to come. It's in the best interest of safety. It's in the best interest of economic growth. It's in the best interest of development.
Khalid Said, thank you so much for your time this evening. Really appreciate it.